Good morning and welcome to Furloughed with Vegan Pete, episode 9. My apologies for no show yesterday. Some of the food that I had betrayed me, kept me up all night, so I wasn't feeling well. But I'm feeling much better today. Little programming note really quick. I think this is going to be the last episode that I upload to YouTube. So this is like the warning for anyone still watching on YouTube. I thought I would give it a shot to see if it gains much traction for people that can't make it live, but it really hasn't. So I'll put this one up to let those of you that have been watching on YouTube know that you can watch it on Twitch after the fact. You just go and look at videos, and you can see the past broadcasts for like 2 weeks. So you have plenty of time to watch it, and time is valuable. And just waiting for the download from Twitch of the video and then uploading it to YouTube takes me close to probably over an hour putting each one of these episodes up. So it wasn't a very efficient use of my time. So it's going to be Twitch only from now on. So with that out of the way, thank you all for showing up and joining me here today. If you're here for the first time, my name is Vegan Pete, and I'm furloughed at the moment, hence the name of the show. Started the show to keep busy and create a place where people can come together and get a little bit of social interaction while stuck at home during this pandemic. So talk in the Twitch chat, have a bit of social interaction, and if you are so inclined, I'd love if you call the show to let me know what you think about any of the stories that we're talking about. If you've got any stories of your own that you want to bring up, you just want to talk about how this whole thing has affected your life, I am up for that too. Before we got started, I was chatting with a few of you, and I said, like, I drove for the first time in like 2.5 weeks, and it felt really good. I got back on the freeway, went and picked up a pizza, filled up a couple growlers with some beer, and it felt so good just getting out of the house. And like, I would get out of the house, I'd work in the garden, stuff like that, but getting away from the house, seeing something other than my house or my yard for a little bit. It was nice to get back on that freeway and get outside a little bit. So if you got anything like that, how has this whole thing affected you? Have you been making a point to get out? Have you been taking a lot of walks to stay active? What have you been doing? Ask any questions in chat as well. I'll do my best to see and answer them. At the end of the last show, I mentioned that the company I work for, that I'm currently furloughed with, was having a meeting later on that day. I had been feeling like this was probably going to be going from furlough to officially laid off. But actually, there is a glimmer of hope. I'm not laid off yet. I'm still furloughed, but the company thinks that from one of the relief acts passed, they will be able to get some relief, get a little money in to bring furloughed people back, and are hoping to have it worked out by next week. So I may be returning then. But I'm not holding out too much hope. This whole situation is crazy, but I do have a glimmer of hope. Miyako says, been going out once a week for food. Very nice. Are you supporting some local businesses? PSN says, I took a long scenic drive when I get my lady from work. Tons of people walking around in the woods. Well, hopefully they are still at a safe distance when they're out hiking around. But yes, I should find a place to go take a hike. Like, the place I usually go is one of the more crowded places, so I need to find a more remote hike. Oh, cops, will you be able to work remotely if they have the revenue? I should be able to continue working remotely. The only reason that they would have me come in is if they decided that my part of the business, the jewelry industry, isn't going to be picking up, which I can definitely see. Probably not a whole bunch of jewelers right now, because there's not a whole bunch of people out looking for jewelry right now, and I don't think the jewelry industry is going to do too well in the near future, because jewelry is a luxury, and with over, what is it now, like 6.6 million people going or registering for unemployment, I think the jewelry industry and many luxury industries could be in for a hurting in the near future. So That's my normal job. I sell 14, 18, 24 karat gold to jewelers. Um, but something that my company, like the main part of my company, is actually the dental industry. So people are still going to need to go to the dentist. So I don't think they'll put me on the dental side of things, but something that we've also been doing, because we do a lot of 3D printing for the dental industry. We can print in gold, we print in palladium as well. But we also print in non-precious materials as well. And something that they just started doing since the whole pandemic is helping out with the printing of face masks. So protective gear for the health industry. And I've run the 3D printers on the jewelry side of things too, printing waxes for jewelers to cast their gold in. So I know how to run the 3D printers, so I might get put on to doing some of that, which I wouldn't mind. Apparently, right now we've started printing some face masks and some COVID-19 test kits or something like that. I don't know the whole deal because we just had a small meeting about it, and I'm actually locked out of my work email right now because apparently when you're furloughed, you can't work at all, and they're taking that part really serious. Miyoko says, gold teeth. The dental industry was a lot of gold and precious metals for a really long time. Now it's going away from precious metals and going towards non-precious materials such as zirconia. So that is the majority of the work in the dental industry right now, it seems. It seems that the only people that still want precious metals in their mouth are the ones that already have like a couple crowns that are gold and they just want them to all match. Otherwise, people are going with resins and zirconia that you get the white color from. So that's a little bit about my job. Didn't even think we were going to talk about that today. PSN says stimulus checks, and that is a story I was going to talk about today. Last week, I talked about the importance of getting your taxes done ASAP and making sure that you have your direct deposit information if you're trying to get your $1,200 of relief money as soon as possible. I mentioned that they were working on getting a web portal done so that those that don't file taxes can apply for the relief as well. Well, that is now up. And I'll have a link in the show notes that take you to the IRS site with the FAQ to let you know if it's even for you, and the link that you can use to submit your information. And I have been seeing that some people have actually started receiving their stimulus payments. So hopefully everyone gets those soon. What are you guys planning to do with your stimulus payment? The $1,200? Broly says, my pending ACH is in. You should get it tomorrow. Very nice. BSN says they're going to spend it on Final Fantasy 14 mounts. So $24 amount. How many are you able to afford? 1,200 divided by 24. You can get yourself 50 mounts. Damn, that's a lot of Final Fantasy 14 mounts. Disco says, pay off a credit card and pay down my car loan. Super exciting. Very nice. Mieko says, buy Yoshi P. I think Yoshi P is going to cost you a little bit more than $1,200. KK says, mount code drops incoming. Yeah, so I would imagine that if you're in my situation where your job isn't too stable right now, I'm just going to be saving it in case I need it. But for those of you that have a stable job, I imagine you can spend you can think of some pretty creative ways to spend that $1,200. $1,200 about gets you a RTX 2080 Ti graphics card. Anyone doing a little computer upgrades with their stimulus? You gonna be maybe going out and supporting your local restaurants a little more often? Oakenhop says, place in savings, do not touch. Not sure how much gonna get. Yeah. I would imagine that there's probably going to be another stimulus coming because I think it's going to last a lot longer than they thought with that original 1,200. PSN says 2 girls at one time. He's doubling up. So yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was I wish I still had my job so I could support the local restaurants right now. Like, I was doing that for that first week that I was working from home, and it sucks having to cut back. I have a lot of friends in the industry, so I see a lot of them struggling, and I wish I could support them a little bit more. Colin says, if I can ever find the equipment, I'm going to be buying some upgrades for the stream. Yeah, get that webcam, get that nice mic you've been eyeing. Roy says, my cousin is buying some of my guitar stuff, and I'm going to use that money to build a whole new gaming PC. That is awesome. Let me know what you end up going with, because I want to hear that. All right, let's get to some more good news, or in this case, a place where you can find some good news. It's a new channel on YouTube simply called Some Good News. Founded by John Krasinski of The Office and Jack Ryan fame, he finds some good news stories as well as calling in some favors from some high-profile friends to create some good news of his own. It's a very heartwarming channel. If you're ever feeling really down, it's a little down. It's a nice thing to check out. It's not a daily thing yet, but it seems a new episode is coming out every few days, so keep an eye out on it. Follow that channel, Some Good News. And that's another example of people creating their own content during this time. So again, let me know if you started creating anything for the first time, or maybe you've gotten back in the creation game, the content creation game. Broly's getting that Final Fantasy X car you mentioned. Very nice. Alan wants some capture cards, a mic, stream decks. So that's all nice stuff to have. But that's not stuff you need to start out with, Talon. I didn't start with a capture card. I didn't start with a stream deck. Started with one USB microphone set up in between me and my wife for the first Final Fantasy XIV podcast we did. I can't stress enough. It's more important just to start making the content than getting exactly your dream setup to start with. Just start getting it out there, because you're going to need the reps. You're going to need the practice. Going back and listening to our first episode is bad. But guess what? Not that many people are going to hear your first episode of a podcast, so don't worry about it. Just worry about getting better. You can upgrade your setup with time. On Friday, I had mentioned that Disney had extended their time that their parks would be closed. I had been wondering, were they still going to keep on paying employees like they had been doing for the couple of weeks that they were closed? An update to that is it looks like Disney employees, at least the ones at the Disney World parks in Florida, will be joining the ranks of the furloughed on the 19th. I had absolutely no idea how many employees Disney World had. I've also never been, so I don't really know the scope of how big the parks are. But if you asked me a few weeks ago, I probably would have said, I don't know, like 10,000 employees. That seems like a huge number for the mouse. But apparently Disney World is furloughing 43,000 employees. And that number was just crazy to me. Those parks must be absolutely massive. And there was also no end date for the furlough mentioned, which is usually a thing. Usually when you get furloughed, they're like, we hope to bring you back on this date. Like when I got furloughed, they're like, we hope to bring you back on the 12th. And then we had that meeting, and they're like, we hope to bring you back on the 19th. So usually you get like some sort of idea on when they're hoping to bring you back, at least. Not that they're obligated to bring you back by that time by any means. But Disney did not give them an estimation of when they'd like to bring them back. And I really don't know if they can right now. Because I have to imagine that theme parks, sports stadiums, movie theaters, those are going to be the last parts of the economy to reopen up when stuff starts to get better. Because those are just the places where it's the easiest way, it's the fastest spreading way for COVID-19 to get out there. You just think about all the interaction you have with vendors, with other people there, all the railings that can be touched. It's just a crazy crazy environment that can be spread really quickly. Now it says Disney is huge. Yes, I knew Disney, like the company, it's huge. I had no idea that the actual parks there were so huge. Like 43,000 just this was just for Disney World. I don't even know if that includes Disneyland in here in California. The article I read was only about Disney World, and it had 43,000 employees. I think it said they're only keeping about 200 on to just like make sure the park is functional still. Upgrade, not I guess they're probably doing some upgrades, but upkeep and just keeping the park clean. You've been, and it's amazing. Magical Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Water Park as well. KK McLeod says they're keeping on security, plus all the hotels and property and restaurants. Damn, that is a lot. I knew they had a lot of parks there, but I kind of assumed like they weren't like big parks. But I guess people do like one park a day, huh? So I guess they are big enough. Probably as big as like every park's probably as big as Disneyland over here, huh? I've never been. This is Area 51 all over again because KK McLeod wants to raid Disneyland. They can't stop us all. Yeah, we got to put the raiding on the back burner right now. A raid is not very impressive when everyone has to stand 6 feet apart. Doesn't look like you have that many people. It's much harder to raid when you have to social distance from each other. Unless we're all in gas masks. Then maybe. So yeah, I mentioned that like sports stadiums probably going to be among the last to open up. But after nearly a month after its opening day was supposed to start, the Chinese Professional Baseball League kicked off in Taiwan this weekend. While Taiwan has dealt with the pandemic pretty much as well as anyone from what I've heard, they are still taking precautions. They've gone ahead with the season, but they are playing in a stadium all by themselves. No fans are permitted at this time. But they did try to liven up the place a little bit. They put some mannequins in the stands, and they even had a robot band, so they had some music going as well. So if you're itching for some baseball, check out the highlights for the game between the China Trust Brothers and the Una President 7-Eleven Lions. And I said all that correctly. The Professional Baseball League really needs to work on their team names, in my opinion, because the China Trust Brothers just kind of sounds like a bank. And the Una President 7-Eleven Lions is just way too much to say. Like, it just has to be the Lions. You can't add in 7-Eleven. You can't have the corporate sponsor in there as well. So I think they need to work on their names over there. Broly's ready to Naruto run onto Disney World. Could just be the translation. It could be. But I'm thinking they just got some weird ass names over there. They have a lot more like advertising over there. Like, I think I even see it on their uniforms occasionally. Look, I'm not that well read up on the Chinese Professional Baseball League, but I have seen some highlights before. It seems like they like kind of NASCAR like, where they have logos and stuff on their uniforms. Professional baseball here doesn't have that. Lots of advertisements in the stadium, but not actually on the jerseys. And hey, Chili, welcome to the stream today. Speaking of NASCAR, though, of course, during this time, everyone is going online. NBA, MLB stars are playing their respective video games online in tournaments and seasons. NASCAR has done the same as well. iRacing is an online racing simulator, and there is an eCar iRacing Pro Invitational Series going on right now. And over the weekend, NASCAR driver Kyle Larson derailed his career by dropping the N-word on stream. While trying to get someone's attention, he shouted, "Hey, N-word." Obviously, he did not just say N-word, he said the N-word. And he was immediately informed that everyone is able to hear him. His team, Chip Ganassi Racing, has suspended the 6-time Cup Series race winner without pay. NASCAR extended the suspension to an indefinite suspension that won't end until he completes sensitivity training. And iRacing has banned Larson from utilizing their racing simulator service. And of course, his sponsors have started to leave. McDonald's, Credit One Bank, Clover, and Chevrolet have all ended their relationships with Larson. I have to say, good on them. Good riddance. If your go-to to get someone's attention is yelling "Hey N-word" at them, I'm guessing that this guy uses that on many of the occasions. I don't think this was a one-time thing for him. So, and it wasn't like an old timer either. It was like a pretty young guy. I think he was in his late 20s. So that's one facepalm for today. Kyle Larson ruining his career on Twitch, dropping the N-word. There was another unfortunate facepalm this weekend when a pastor who ignored social distancing rules and stated that they would continue to preach, quote, "unless I'm in jail or the hospital." He's died. He missed that third option of death that could keep him from preaching. Now, I don't want to make light of this because someone dying always sucks. But it needs to be talked about because it was a preventable death. It could have been prevented. All he had to do was stay home, get a webcam set up, and preach from there. And urging people to go to church put them at risk, put himself at risk. And isn't there something about protecting your flock that has to be thought of? He was also quoted as saying, "I firmly believe that God is larger than this dreaded virus." Well, I suppose that he, with the capital H, is, but he had already let the virus wipe out about 90,000 people at the time, so I think we should know that he was okay with the Rona doing its thing, and you should have been protecting people instead of putting them in harm's way. I'm no Bible expert, but isn't there a story about God basically wiping out the world in a flood? So I don't think God is any stranger to pandemics or snuffing people out. PSN says, really not helping NASCAR out with that. Yeah, I think in general, NASCAR, maybe due more to the fans of NASCAR than anything else, has a bad reputation race-wise. And that guy was really not helping out NASCAR. Ogenhop says Fed should have locked his church down for him. And, oh yeah. I don't know if I mentioned, I said he died. He died of the coronavirus, if that was lost in what I was saying. He contracted the coronavirus and died after he continued to hold his church open for all his churchgoers. Chili says, I remember that video of a woman saying she is saved because she is covered in the blood of Jesus. I was just sat thinking, man, he has a lot of blood. I have not seen that video, Chili. And you don't need to share it with me. I don't need to see that. So yeah, I hope I didn't make too light of that issue. I definitely wanted, not trying to say people shouldn't be religious or anything like that, but you don't need to go to a church to have this service. There are plenty of churches doing their services online, so maybe if your church isn't, you can at least go check out some other church service that is doing it online, because you need to keep yourself safe and you keep your family safe, man. So moving on from that, I had a fun time playing the Final Fantasy VII remake this weekend for the first time. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of my day one experience for the Final Fantasy VII remake, and definitely let me know what your day one thoughts were. Maybe you've played all the way through already, but try to look back, try to remember that first day you played it, put your first day thoughts into chat, and so I can compare it to mine. I loved it, and I had a great time. I like that it started me right off in the action, fighting people right away. I learned the controls and learned the characters at the same time, and I much prefer that than games that start you off in like a setting where you're just learning characters one at a time. Where it would be like, hey, I'm Barrett, leader of Avalanche, and I'm Jesse, munitions expert. Like, I'm glad they didn't do that. We just learned everything as we were playing through. It throws you right into the middle of action, and I thought that was great. Broly, you can call in for anything you want, man. That's the whole point of the show. It's not just me talking and you listening. I want you all to be part of the show. You can call in for anything. So yeah, I like that. I like the pacing right off the bat. Threw me right into the action, learn the controls, learn the game and the characters at the same time. I'm also interested in some of the themes so far. Barrett seems to be very much an environmentalist who's trying to prevent the destruction of the world, and I'm here for that. I was kind of curious if anyone knows about the person who wrote the original story. I know it came out in the late 90s when most of the nuclear protests were over. Most of those took place in the 70s and 80s, but maybe if there was some connection with that, and if they wrote this story in response to that, I have no idea. But it also made me think of climate change that we're dealing with now, and I'm sure there is going to be a theme of love that I can see with the beginnings of Tifa and Cloud. I'm not that far into it yet, so I don't have too much opinion on any themes that are going on right now, but those couple that stood out for me: environmentalism and love. The big mysteries right now for me are how Cloud and Sephiroth how they are connected. I've just seen a little bit of Sephiroth so far, and what are the ghost things that Aerith is able to see, and apparently Cloud can see them as well. At first, I thought only she could see them, and then Cloud saw them because he was with her, but then he saw them later on. So I don't really know what's going on with them. And gameplay wise, it's been pretty smooth for me. Like all Final Fantasy games, my problem is just remembering to do stuff. I have to remember that I have spells to use and not just hit things with my big sword. I like that materia levels up, so I won't have a huge inventory of different levels of materia like in Final Fantasy 14. Visually, the game looks pretty great. The only exception being the doors on the apartment we're staying at. Looks like they were completely forgot to be textured. And I don't know how your level is going to affect things going forward. I did take time and do side quests in the town I'm in just in case, because I don't want to be under level when I get to stuff. I don't know if it's like 8 where you want to keep your level low, or if you can like out level stuff like you could in 10. So that's going to be interesting. I didn't want to just continue on the main story because I didn't want to find myself under-geared or anything. The side story quests were just okay. Nothing to write home about in the side quests that I've done so far. But overall, very impressed and looking forward to playing some more. And Oakenhop says, no PS4, but watched Final Fantasy VII streams. Looks incredible and so well done. Looking forward to playing on PS5 or PC. KK says he's a violent environmentalist. I'm okay with a little violence. And hi, Ivory Miss. Thank you for joining us today. Chili Pepper says 8 is the only game with that leveling thing. All right. Looks like we've got Broly on deck. Broly, are you looking to talk a little bit of Final Fantasy VII Remake today? Oh, Broly, I cannot hear you at the moment. Let me check my user settings really quickly. Headphones are on. There's the problem. 1 second. All right, now I should be able to have you. Broly, how are you doing? I'm doing good. Are you on your phone? You're a little far away. Okay. So, what did you want to say about Final Fantasy VII Remake today? All right, hold on, Broly. 1 second. Chat says they're not able to hear you.
not able to hear me.
Let me change one more thing.
Okay.
All right. Chat, let me know if you can hear Burley now.
Hello.
All right, there we go. Got him.
All right, cool. Yeah. So a little bit of backstory for me. On Final Fantasy VII, as far as the original goes, I've only really played up to the point where you get out of Midgar. So pretty much what this game is supposed to encompass. Um, so I don't know a lot of the long-term things that they're maybe building up to or not. Um, my day one experience was phenomenal. Just a lot of moments where I've been live streaming it only, and there's a lot of moments where I just didn't know what to say.
At a loss for words. So, did you play it? Did you play the part of the original when it first came out, or is that something you did more recently?
So I played that part of the original. The most recent I played that was it was last year. I picked it up on the Switch, and I was like, well, yeah, I'll try and give it a shot. And then other projects got in the way.
Okay, so
But
day one, you were very impressed.
yeah,
What was your favorite part? The story, the action. What was it for you?
I think my favorite part really is the characterization.
Okay, who's your favorite
Uh,
character so far?
it's really hard to say. Um, yeah, without treading into spoiler territory, I'm really enjoying the characterization of Aerith.
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm at. It's like when you really start to learn about her, and just like the voice acting is really convincing for me.
And what chapter are you on now?
I think I'm on chapter 8.
Okay, so you're quite a bit ahead of me. I got to chapter 3 on my first my first day.
I had, but that's basically where I got on my first day. I think I actually beat 4, but it was saved on chapter 4. So some of those chapters, I feel like you kind of like you do one thing and then you're just off to the next chapter, and then other parts it's like, well, this chapter is taking a considerable amount of time.
Yeah, I had been burning through chapters 1 and 2, and then when I got to 3, you're at the town with Tifa's bar, and there's a lot of side quests to do, so side quests can definitely make chapters take longer. I didn't want to
Yeah,
just keep on doing the main story because I was afraid of being undergeared for everything.
yeah, yeah. And then there's times where I'm like, oh, well, this is the more conscious thing to do for make sure you don't miss out on things. And then I've gotten to certain points where I'm like, I could have done the other thing that probably would have benefited me more than these items that I might never use.
Yeah, and even with the little that I've gone through so far, I'm already like in my head thinking about stuff I would have done different. So there's definitely going to be some replay value to this game as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that like just seeing these environments that some of us already know very well, and seeing them become much more fleshed out, and you get to see like the liveliness of it, and that it adds a lot more impact to what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gotta say, like, I'm enjoying the dialogue of this game a lot more than I have in past Final Fantasy games, and it's probably not taken directly from Final Fantasy VII original. They probably added more to it and uh, probably punched it up a little bit, make it flow better.
Yeah,
Because in some of
apparently
the
one of
most,
the characters.
oh, go ahead.
Or go ahead. Okay. I was just gonna say apparently one of the characters is like completely added and wasn't in the original, and I'm not sure who that is. Um, yeah. So if I've been introduced to that character, they've done a really good job bringing that character in organically.
Yeah, I heard there are actually some new characters, which is good. I mean, I think people needed a little something more than just the original, and yeah, or else it's just going to be like replaying the same game, and they could have just done a remaster. So I'm glad they
Yeah.
added some new stuff. I'm glad there's a little something new for people and adding to the world of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm very much like if you're not gonna do anything to change it, then like I would rather just play the original.
Yeah, original
Uh,
and remaster them like they've done with 10 and 9 and
yeah,
8.
yeah, and so it's really nice to have that that additional flavor to it, and it actually makes me want to, like, when I beat the game, I might go back and actually try and beat Final Fantasy VII.
The original?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my plan. When I'm done with the remake, I am planning on going to 7 and comparing the two. So I'm interested to see what your opinion is going to be on that too.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be. I'll definitely have some things to say about it once I've completed both, or at least completed to compare the original of what the remake encompasses, and see if there's certain things that I would have liked that they did better in the remake, and see if like those are things that I wish were in the original.
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool to play the original again and then speculate on what the next part of the remake is going to cover.
Yeah, yeah, because I've gone a little bit past on the original, but like I don't think I made it close to the first, like finishing the first disc.
Okay. All right, Broly. Anything else you wanted to add about your time playing the remake?
No, I think that pretty much like encompasses my thoughts on it so far.
All
I'm
right.
very excited to keep going with it.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much, Broly, for calling in today. And I imagine we're
Yeah.
probably going to be talking a lot of Final Fantasy VII as we continue with our playthrough. So call in again.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it comes up, I'll definitely share thoughts that I have on it.
All right. Thank you, Broly. Have a good
Yep.
rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
All right, there we go, Broly, and welcome to the chat, Treylan. Good afternoon to yourself as well. Cake McLeod is asking, am I doing Final Fantasy VII Remake on Sundays only? No, I don't think so. I think I am definitely going to make an effort to add that to my Wednesday stream, because Final Fantasy XIV right now, not a whole lot of content to do. We can get as many relics as we want now, but that doesn't take very long to get your Disciple of War and Magic relics. The Disciple of Hand and Land do take longer. I got my first land one. I got my minor relic weapon yesterday, and I got one crafting weapon yesterday just to see about the time investment. And the Gathering one takes you about 2 hours. The Gathering took me around 2 hours, 15 minutes to get everything I needed. And Disciple of Land, the only thing that gates you are the yellow scripts. You need materials to buy with yellow scripts, so you can just buy everything off the market board if you wanted to. And then it's just crafting 50 items, 20 items for the first level and 30 items for the second level that I was able to macro without having to eat any food or anything. So it's not difficult. I wish they would have added expert recipes and made me make less of them. But yeah, that's not something they've decided to do. And the relic weapons for crafters and gatherers are pretty damn boring for Final Fantasy XIV at the moment. So I think I'm definitely going to be adding in some Final Fantasy Remake stream on Wednesday, because who the hell wants to watch me press 2 buttons every minute and a half to watch my character make some weapons? That sounds boring as hell. I'm sure a lot of you here don't even play Final Fantasy XIV, so we'll move on. I think the only miscue that I've seen with Final Fantasy VII so far is that apparently some people in Asian countries that pre-ordered digitally received a version with the wrong language. And I don't understand why they wouldn't just include all languages as an option. It's already a huge download, so how much is adding a couple more language options really going to add to it? I don't know why they just don't have all the languages available to begin with. All right, so a little bit of TV update. I had been doing some recaps of Tiger King because that was big in the zeitgeist. A lot of memes going around for Tiger King. The memes were really what got me to watch it in the first place. But I gotta say, I'm not going to do any more recaps or updates about Tiger King. I watched another episode, and much like the recaps that I had been doing, they're all just garbage people that I don't want to give any sort of press to. So I'm not gonna be reporting on the Tiger King anymore. Really, the only reason that has me watching it is just so I know what other people are talking about, and so if they mention something, I have a rebuttal. If anyone is really a pro Joe Exotic person, I fear for you. But other stuff I'm watching right now is Westworld. In my opinion, best show on TV right now. It sucks that both Westworld and Watchmen didn't get great ratings because both are better than Game of Thrones was the last 2 or 3 seasons. Watchmen was my favorite show of last year. Trying to get my wife into watching Altered Carbon because I want to watch season 2 and she needs to catch up. That's a little TV update from me. What are you guys watching? Are you guys consuming any new TV right now, or are you all on video games right now? Ivory Mist has been watching The Magicians. I actually haven't watched any of this season, but my wife and one of her best friends, she used to have her best friend come over to watch it, but since we're socially distancing right now, they can't do that. So they will get on to Discord, and I think I talked about this maybe. Avi will do a little private room and stream her view of the Magician's new episode from sci-fi.com, and her friend will be able to see it and they can watch it together. So probably not legal, but who cares? Um KK says, "Good man, not getting a second of my time," referring to Tiger King. Treyland says, "Watching Lucifer on Netflix. I've only caught a little bit of Lucifer while my wife has been watching it, but I really enjoyed what I saw. Probably not a show that's gonna make you think too much, but a very just like entertaining show." KK says, "My Little Pony final season, second half hit Hulu a couple days ago. That's what I see with the 5-year-old." For a second, I thought you were turning out to be a brony, KK. You don't have to say it's because of the 5-year-old. It's okay to be a brony. If you like My Little Ponies, that's perfectly fine if you want to watch that in your free time. Grayland says Lucifer had him laughing, that's for sure. Rolly says, "I've been watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure." Is that JoJo YouTube person, JoJo Siwa? I think is her name. I know of her. I have not watched a single video of her. Is it good? Or are you watching it just for the laughs? Oh, Chili Pepper says, "No, that's not the JoJo." Oh, JoJo is an anime, right? I don't watch that one either. Yeah. So Altered Carbon is the thing I want to watch right now. I want to watch season 2. I really enjoyed season 1. All right, let's round out the show, guys. Some little miscellaneous stories we have from the weekend. Bernie Sanders endorsed Joe Biden. What do y'all think about that? I was big on the Bernie train. Very disappointed that Joe Biden ended up the presumptive nominee. What are you guys going to do? What are you going to vote for? If you were big on the Sanders campaign, are you going to do a protest vote and vote for someone else? I think I have a little bit of a luxury. I can do a protest vote in California and not really be worried that Biden wouldn't win. But I think if I was in a swing state, I would definitely be voting for Joe Biden. And yes, I know Obama was to endorse Biden today, and apparently KK says that Barack just officially did it as well. Ivory Miss says, "Well, I'm not a fan of the guy calling himself a king in the White House." Yes, I don't think many of us are. Oakenhop says, "Will not vote for a centrist neoliberal unless Joe nominates a democratic socialist to the VP or adopts a similar policy platform." I think he'll probably go a little bit to the left. I don't think he's going to go as far as Medicare for all, but hopefully it looks like he's going a little bit more left on some help for college loans. So that will be good. VP for Prez. You don't want me as president. Kaj Gaming Fun says, "Ooh, I caught a cast. Hi, Vegan Pete. Oh, hello to you. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We're on the back half of the show, but we got a little bit left. Oaken Hops is going to write in Bernie Sanders. Yes. So if you're in a blue state, you have the luxury of doing a protest vote. But if I was in a swing state, I would definitely vote for Biden. Because I don't want 4 more years of this. It hasn't been fun. But like I said before, I'm a little scared Biden doesn't have what it takes to go up against Donald Trump. So hopefully, I think this whole coronavirus thing and the way he handled it might have been the nail in his coffin. I think he has really bad ratings for how he's handled it. And really, I'm not going to vote for anyone who says I'm not accepting responsibility for anything. So that's the big thing for me. Guy doesn't take accountability for anything. Oaken Hop says the only reason Biden can win is COVID-19. A dog could probably win against Trump at the moment. Yeah, you never know. But people were loving Trump in the economy. Those centrists were pretty happy with their 401ks after that, and I think he was just going to use that in the general election. And if the economy rebounds after coronavirus, I think Biden could actually have trouble beating him in the general. That's just how I see it at the moment. Definitely hope it doesn't happen, but that's the way it feels to me. And I definitely want the economy to come back because I like having a job more than I've enjoyed not having a job. What else was this weekend? Saturday Night Live was back. Did anyone watch the newest edition of Saturday Night Live where it was all produced? So it wasn't live. It was all produced at their own respective houses. It was a little rough. If I have to say so myself. A weekend update is one of my favorite things, and they did it on Zoom, and they had other people in the Zoom to laugh at their jokes that they were telling, but some of the laughter just felt a little too insincere. It was just annoying, the type of laughter that they had on there. It wasn't quite the studio audience that normally laughs, and the weekend update was pretty rough. I can't really say that any of the sketches really made me LOL. Yeah, they had a Twitch sketch that was pretty bad. The only one that made me laugh a little bit was the Zoom call, and even that was a mix of funny and cringy. But yeah, didn't like the music videos from Pete Davidson that he was trying to make fun of Drake in. Just wasn't good. And the Tom Hanks monologue. I don't know. There's something about comedy with no studio audience that I think the studio audience really brings up the jokes that aren't great. They're just okay. What about the sports announcer guy? That was probably the best one, actually. The fired UK sports guy who was trying to find other sports to watch and was like putting 4 pieces of popcorn into a pot and commentating on which one was going to explode first. That one was pretty good. Animated Turtles, Middle-aged Mutant Turtles, that one was just kind of for me. Billy back on politics says the issue with UK politics is we have 3 main groups that run, but 2 of them are kind of left while 1 is right, which means the right wins a lot due to the fact that votes get split. Yes, that's the problem. We have a 2-party system here. So it's not as big here, but there is definitely a more progressive wing inside the Democratic Party. And the Republican Party went even further right because for a short moment of time, there was a Tea Party. The Tea Party started winning elections on the right, so the right even went more right, and they kind of got rid of the Tea Party, but the Republican Party itself went even further right, which was scary. Like their person Ronald Reagan would probably be like a centrist Democrat right now. Oaken Hops, we have entered the age of political nihilism. Meaningful reform or change will not happen unless the modern DNC is dismantled and reformed. The DNC is definitely not as democratic as you would hope it would be. Um, but I see things that are going left. Hopefully, coming up, there's some leaders that are going to be able to take the place of Bernie Sanders, because he's too up there now. His ideas are really good, but I think his time has passed. I don't see Sanders being able to make any more presidential runs. Chili Pepper says, "See, I play Final Fantasy too much. I was like, what's Modern Dancer gonna do?" Alrighty. So one good story to end on I have, and I'm sorry I didn't get to this last week when we had the all sex episode, but apparently the coronavirus and the lack of people around have given a couple of pandas the privacy they needed to mate for the first time. These couple of pandas had been together for over 10 years and had never done the deed together. So maybe a couple of baby pandas coming in the future. A COVID-19 panda baby boom coming. And I knew pandas were pretty hard to reproduce, but the article had a piece of information that said a female is only fertile for about a 72-hour period, and if it's missed, you have to wait again until next year. And after I read that, I was like, damn, it's amazing that pandas have existed this long without going extinct. I don't know if they would have survived with any without any human interaction or intervention. I remember the first time a couple of pandas made it to the San Diego Zoo. They were on loan from China, and they started like a little bit of a breeding program or trying to repopulate the pandas, and panda got pregnant, and it was absolute pandemonium, forgive the pun if you would. People here were panda crazy, and there were webcams had just like become a thing back then, so there was 24/7 panda cam, and it was crazy how much some people were obsessed with these pandas and just watching them all the time. My grandmother was absolutely obsessed with watching that panda cam when those little baby pandas were born. But they were only on loan from China, so eventually we had to send them back. We sent back the baby pandas, kept the original here and a couple of the kids, and I think we sent the last two back just last year. I think for the first time in decades, San Diego is pandaless. We have no pandas. Ivory Miss says, "You're sad they are gone. Your kids love going to see them." Yes, I think the panda exhibit's completely closed now in San Diego. Oaken Hop says, "Oh God, the baby giraffe camera too." See, that might have been local to where you are. I don't remember a giraffe cam. All I remember is Panda Cam. Panda Watch 24/7 in San Diego. It swept San Diego. All right, that's all the stories I have for you today, y'all. That's going to be it from me. So thank you all for coming out and participating. Thank you, Broly, for calling in. Thank you, everyone, for adding to the chat. I really appreciate the social interaction. Thank you all so much. Hopefully you guys are getting as much out of it as I am, because I really enjoy it. And I'm aiming to do the show every week. Apologies again for being sicky yesterday. So join me here 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. I'm doing my best to bring you a show, and like I said, this is going to be the last one that I upload to YouTube, because that was taking me too long to do for not really reaching any additional audience. So it's going to be all Twitch from now on. So if you are watching on YouTube, start watching the VOD on Twitch. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a great Tuesday, and I will talk to you next time. Goodbye.